Greetings, Earthlings. Tamasha here, and it has been a while, I know, but I have just been going through my healing journey, going through some things for almost a year that I'm finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel for, and that is not what this video is all about. I'll do a completely different video just kind of giving you an update on what's going on with me as far as my health and ultimately what ended up happening with the juice fast that I started and wasn't able to finish, everything that I've learned about that. But this video is more me just really wanting to reach the people that are from where I'm from the hood, from the ghetto, whatever that means to you. It's different in different places. But I was born and raised in South Central LA, so the best way to relate, the best way to explain where that is for people to be able to relate is the area where Boys in the Hood and Straight Outta Compton was filmed. Yeah, Hollywood is down the street, but that's not where I was raised. So I was raised in the thick of it all when it comes to the gang life and the crack epidemics and just all of the statistics, shady, corrupt police, and that whole thing. The reason why I wanted to talk about this is because my son, who is 18, he's getting ready to be 19 very soon. He's out of school, and by the way, you might hear him in the background because he has taken over the whole front part of the house. I had to come in my office space and be in my bedroom to get some silence and privacy, but I let him have that. He has his friends coming over, and yeah, I just want him to do his own thing with his music and stuff like that. So, but yeah, he recently became extremely interested in what it was like for me and my brothers and cousins and our family growing up in that environment. And I believe Kendrick Lamar had a lot to do with that because my son is, I don't want to say obsessed, but almost. He absolutely loves Kendrick Lamar, and he started listening to more of his music in detail, not just like the radio hits, but really paying attention to the words. And as you start listening to some of these things, he started having questions. And so last 2 weeks ago, it's been almost 2 weeks, I took him with me to LA because when he was younger and we were there, and when I say younger, I mean like 10, 11, 12 years old, his perspective was different. He wasn't listening to the same music. And I mean, I would try and teach him different things about what I learned in the hood, but you never really know what sticks. And so he wanted to approach it from, and this is from his own words, like, I just wasn't seeing it the same. I want to approach it with a different state of mind. So he started asking me questions about my brother and being in the gangs and what gang he was in and how far deep he was in. And it just went down this rabbit hole of questions. And it's been nice, to give him a more of an inside glimpse now that he's listening as to where I'm from and just in general what it's like being from the hood. Some people wear that as a badge of honor, and I mean, I'm not knocking it. I'm not shouting it to the rooftops. It is what it is. That's where I chose to be born for whatever reason. And but one day, him and I were going somewhere, and he just wanted to be fully engulfed in the experience. So one person who has never left the hood is my mother. um, she just has no desire. And I always say it's like her little 4 block radius. Really, it's more of a radius than that. I would say 2 square miles. She just has no interest. And that's the main reason why I want to talk about this, because I remember telling my son that I was one of the chosen ones. I heeded the signs. I took the warnings. There is a brainwashing that happens growing up in that environment when even your elders and your aunts and uncles who have never left there other than to maybe take a trip out of town from time to time. But just being engulfed in that environment, it becomes your mental, what you're taught, what you're growing up to believe. And I had to tell him that I was plucked out of that environment. I was chosen as one of the people to leave and then to spread the word, which is what I'm doing right now, to spread the word of the possibilities of leaving. You can always, always go back home, which is what I do regularly, not to live. Although, since I left in 1994, I have gone back home to live. But once I get in that environment again, it's like, no, I couldn't stay here. And it wasn't just because of the things that I was seeing around me, but it was the mentality of the people. Because after you leave, you grow. Your wings, your wingspan gets bigger, and you start educating yourself and unlearning some of the things that you learned and that it was presented to you as being law when you're growing up in the hood. Being in the hood in general, it's not healthy. Especially, for me, it's all about the foods we eat and what we consume spiritually, and just the things we allow our eyes to see, our physical eyes to see. And it's not healthy. People are doing the best that they know how, but there are so many people that aren't exposed to a healthier, better way. And I was just telling him, because we were sitting at a restaurant, one of the local fast food restaurants, and there are plenty, but we were just happened to be sitting at one of them. And on the way there, it was walking distance from my mother's house, and I asked him, like, so what do you think now? You've been here 4 days. And he just felt bad. He was saying he couldn't imagine growing up in that, because he was looking at the filth and the homelessness and the lack of desire to do better and be better. People are literally on a hamster wheel, and they're just going through the motions, and they're doing what they're being told, and they're not educating themselves, and they're not, that's just what it is. And so I wanted to come on here and say, for those of you that are in the hood, were raised in the hood, trying to get out of the hood, can relate to me, it can be done. But you have to get out of that comfort zone. And that's what I say. And I love her to death. She is one of my best friends. And I really had to learn how to be accepting of my mother being exactly the way she is. Because what I noticed once I got older is how bitter I was towards her for a long time. How much animosity I had towards her, because she just wouldn't change. She wouldn't change. It's not that she couldn't or can't. She just doesn't have the desire to. And that's okay, because we all came here to live a different kind of journey. Now, on the flip side of that, my mother has one of the biggest hearts you will ever find in a person. Extremely forgiving, does not hold grudges. And unfortunately, she grew up in alcoholism, which caused her to take part in alcoholism, you know? So it's just a stuck energy. And that's okay because she's happy. As far as she's concerned, she's happy. She's going through and has gone through a lot of the things that some of us go through being from the hood. She was born in Gulfport, Mississippi, and then my grandmother moved her family here, my aunts and uncles, when my mom was a young girl, like 12, maybe even younger. I need to get clarity on that from her. That's something I never really figured out. But yeah, so she became a part of that environment. And, you know, she is who she is. I love her to death. She's there for me. She got my back, my number one supporter. I talk to her all the time. But I had to decide what kind of relationship I wanted with her. Did I want a relationship with her where every time I'm around her, I'm just frustrated and I'm mad and I'm looking at her in disgust? Or do I want a relationship with her like my mother is in my life and she's my biggest supporter and she brings the sunshine, she brings the light, and I get all of the hugs and the kisses that I need in life from my mother. When I tell you, my mother never stopped loving on me. She's constantly hugging on me. She's constantly kissing me. And my son now, whenever we're both around, that's just who she is. So I decided, you know what? I would rather have that than to have nothing, which is what I had before. And it was even harder because I was even more bitter. So I had to really pray and journal a lot and, you know, do some shadow work in order to get where I am when it comes to my relationship with my mother. And now I wouldn't trade it for the world. But she can't relate. She supports me, but she can't relate to the lifestyle that I live. She encourages me because she knows that that's what I want, but she's just not interested in it. And it just makes me think about a lot of people in that environment, a lot of people from the hood. They're just either they don't know any better or they're just in a comfort zone that's good for them. And that's okay too. But for those of you who want to get out, and when I say get out, I mean get out because it is like a jungle. My mom lives not far from the projects that my brother, I say, lost his life because, and you guys, this video, I am being extremely transparent, but I think it's time because I know there are people out there that can relate to me. And it doesn't have to be the hood of South Central LA. There's hoods everywhere. There's hoods in Macon, Georgia. There's hoods in the dirty, dirty South. So it's about a mentality and the things that you see around you. The liquor store on every other corner, the Church's Chicken and the Popeyes, and you have to travel far out to go to a grocery store that sells organic produce, and you won't find the healthy vegan restaurants in the neighborhood. You got to drive downtown or go over the bridge or, you know, whatever that means for you and where you live. But my son and I were walking through the Avalon Gardens projects, and I was just really having a nostalgic moment because I look around in that area today and it's nothing like it was when I grew up there, back in the peak of the things that were happening in the movie Straight Outta Compton, where the police were constantly hemming up the young boys and the gang violence was, it was terrible. There were constant drive-bys and carjackings and, you know, that's just what the life was. And so my son was eager to see it. And when we went over there, it was nothing like I remembered it to be, which was refreshing. But my son kind of felt like because the cameras and stuff like that are on the scene, that may have had a lot to do with it. But then a lot of people moved out of that area and they moved to the Inland Empire. It's called the IE. And it's like, I guess you can consider it a suburb of LA. So that's kind of what happened with a lot of the people that I know. And unfortunately, because they moved their physical bodies, some people still have that hood mentality. You know, some people have taken the hood with them. But I just wanted to encourage the person who wants to get out. Don't be afraid to make moves alone. I got out because I had the opportunity to move to Atlanta and I took it. Had never left LA prior to that, other than to come to Vegas, which is where I live now, other than to drive 4.5 hours on a trip to Vegas or down to Tijuana, Mexico, because that's down the street too from LA. Never really ventured out farther than that for more than 2 days. And I decided to take that opportunity, and it wasn't until later that I realized that was me being plucked out of that environment because I had a bigger mission. And I'm on my mission now. And I'm just speaking to you, the person who wants to get out. You are going to have people around you that call you crazy. It's just not taught. It's not taught in the hood to trust your instincts. It's not taught in the hood to eat a well-balanced diet. I remember growing up though, my uncle, he used to jog. And I'm talking about when I was like 10, 9, 10, 11. It was something instilled in him that he wanted to take care of his physical body. And it could have been just so that he could keep having the ladies. I don't really know. I need to ask him about that. But that was the only thing that I saw around me pertaining to any kind of healthy living. Was my uncle jogging, but I still didn't really relate it to health, you know. But I am going to get more information about that to ask him what sparked it, what his encouragement was. But things that you just don't learn those things in the hood. And when you start venturing in that direction, people around you, people in the hood, your neighbors, your friends, your high school friends, and your family members, they're going to call you all kinds of names. They're going to joke about it. They're going to mimic you, mock you, and everything. But you have to remember the bigger picture, that it is about you and your journey and your growth. And it's just something my son was noticing, like, is there any growth here? You know, everybody, it's like the crab in the bucket mentality, and people just don't, the interest in doing better is getting a fancier car or buying a bigger house or getting the freshest Jordans or having the big bling. You know, like these are the things that are to be desired when you're from the hood. South Central LA to be specific, because that's the only hood that I can really speak on that I've had experience in. But yeah, you can do it. You're just, it's things that you won't get taught unless you get out, you know, being told that Jesus is the way, Christianity is the way. If you're not a part of a formal religion or the Nation of Islam, I grew up being Nation of Islam, and then when my parents got a divorce, that just kind of went downhill, you know. And my dad was the one who was like the enforcer on living that way of life, and now he's a Christian. So, yo, you got to do what works for you. And none of that religion stuff. Once I got older and started educating myself, I just kind of saw the lies and the gaps and the things that I realized weren't teaching. It wasn't teaching me about my true power within. You know, it wasn't teaching me how to go inward and have a relationship with God. You know, just from what I remember about being a Christian, that period of time that I was, it forces you to go outward and give all of your power to an external force. And that now looking back, that's no, because I didn't know myself then like I do now. So yeah, that was the main purpose of this video. And trust me, I will dive more into uh, life in the hood. I promise, I'm going to share some of my personal stories of things that I've gone through, from seeing a crackhead OD and somebody being shot, and having a boyfriend who was attacked by the canine dogs, and my brother being imprisoned for murder, and the crack epidemic in my family, and the molestation and the child pedophilia in my family. Like, I experienced it all. And I'm going to share different pieces of that journey with you. The great things about it is being a part of the car culture, or just knowing about the car culture and loving it. Being able to go 30 minutes down in one direction and end up at the beach, just those kinds of things. But not being afraid to, at this point, because I was born and raised in that environment, I'm not afraid to go anywhere. And I can go places alone. It's a thick skin that you develop from being around those things, not being the type of person who's like, oh my God, panicky because something major happens. You just learn how to adapt. But yeah, there are things that you don't get taught and won't get taught being in the hood. And you have to decide to get out. The most frustrating part for me about going to LA and seeing my family and staying with my mom is not finding the foods that I need and that I want. So oftentimes I'm packing a big bag of food, insulated food bag, with me that I can have while I'm there for the week or for the few days, because I know it's going to be difficult to find. Grocery stores are everywhere, but they're not packed with the things that I desire. My mom lives within a couple of blocks of Food for Less and a grocery store called Superior, but I can't find very many organic options in these places. Or even herb stores and that kind of thing. It's just not there, and it's designed that way. They want us stuck for a reason, because then that way they can control us and have us in one of their institutions in the long run, whether it be the hospital, whether it be in these corrupt school systems, or whether it be these places that they say is rehabilitation, but they're not rehabilitizing. I don't even know if that's a word. I think I just made that up. There's no rehabilitation happening in the prison systems. So even the doctors, going there and going to the doctors, it's all a corrupt, crooked ass system. And you have to decide, no, I can do better. I want better. I know that there is better out there, and I'm going to seek it. And you have to be prepared to take that journey alone. Eventually you'll start pulling people up out of the muck with you once they see how your life has changed. Yeah, I just wanted to share that little bit about myself being from the hood and how I ended up on the journey that I'm on. And the journey, it has a ways to go, but I'm here for it, and I'm here for you. And if you have any questions for me, if you just want to share your experience with me, please leave it in the comments. Send me a message. I'm on Instagram, The Earthy Oasis, and I have a denim page, Blue Soul Denim. Go over there, do me a favor, and follow those pages. And if you haven't already, my goal is to get up to 5,000 subscribers. Subscribe to this channel and come back for more, because I decided to make it a mission to speak to the people who can relate to me, who are from where I'm from. I have been refined, but the hood girl is still in there. I have not forgotten. People say, people leave home and forget where they came from. Never. It's not possible. Your family won't let you do that. Why would I want to forget where I'm from? ultimately it created who I am today. So anyway, thank you for your time. The next time we chat, I promise I'll tell you one of those stories. There's so many. You just, you're not shell shocked anymore, you know, when you grow up in that environment. Nothing surprises you. It's just a part of your DNA, you know, it's like it's in your makeup. It's like, somebody got shot. Oh, that happens every day in the hood, you know. So, um, yeah, I think that's it. Thank you for your time. And I love you. And I will talk to you very soon.